Urban hell. No other words fit these cities. One look and they're enough to make your stomach turn. With monstrous skyscrapers looming overhead, streets overflowed with garbage, and people desperately cramming into overcrowded transport, these cities feel like a living nightmare. The conditions here are so harsh that survival means adapting and pushing through. Urbanization has drawn millions from rural areas to the promise of good life in the cities, but only to be disappointed with the reality. Let's take a closer look at some of the world's most extreme examples of urban hell. Manila, Philippines. One of the most densely packed slums is in this capital city. There are more than 600,000 people calling this home. Here many live in cramped makeshift shelters, oftentimes made from light recycled materials, while others have no choice but to sleep on the streets using cardboards. Life is so tough that some have to resort to scavenge through trash to earn a few extra pesos. Hence, it's no surprise to see the overwhelming presence of trash. Surviving in this neighborhood takes more than just grit. It demands an iron stomach. Many residents rely on scavenged leftovers from fast food chains and restaurants, a practice locally known as pagpag. They sift through discarded meals, reheat whatever seems safe, and eat it simply to keep hunger at bay. Here, resilience is a way of life. But despite the challenges, you'd still witness the famed Filipino happiness even in one of the toughest places to live. Siberia, Russia. In the middle of the Miry town, a gigantic crater is pretty visible in the landscape. This is the Miry mine. Once a symbol of fortune, it is now a vast scar on the frozen land. At over 525 meters deep and 1.2 kilometers wide, it stands among the world's largest man-made holes. The mine is so immense that rumors swirl about its ability to pull helicopters into its depths, although no reported incident yet. The town of Miry was built around it, entirely dependent on diamond mining for survival. But life here is unforgiving. The brutal Siberian cold is the town's greatest adversary, with temperatures plunging as low as -40 degrees Celsius. Adding to that is the town's isolation, turning survival into a daily battle. Yet despite the hardships, Miry remains the center of Russia's diamond industry. For some, the promise of wealth is enough to endure the hardships and call this place home. Sitakunda, Bangladesh, the final resting place for some massive ships. From towering oil tankers to colossal cargo ships and luxury cruise liners, these vessels are deliberately beached and dismantled piece by piece, often by hand. Here, locals are engaged in one of the deadliest jobs in the world. Workers with little to no protective gear risk their lives daily amid toxic fumes and crude machinery. Workers scale towering ships, dismantling these steel behemoths piece by piece. As colossal slabs of metal crash into the seabed, the impact sends shockwaves through the ground, rattling nearby homes. Locals living between the shipbreaking yards describe the sensation as nothing short of an earthquake. But its impact is not just limited to the laborers. There's an environmental toll as well. Oil spills, asbestos, and ozone-depleting gases seep into the land, air, and water, turning the coastline into a graveyard of both metal and human endurance. Hong Kong, skyscraper city of the world. This is not a choice for the city, rather, out of necessity. You see, its land supply is limited, so to accommodate its population, it has no option but to go up. The city's skyline is a dense forest of over 7,800 high-rises. It houses and employs more than 7.5 million people every day. Back in the mid-1900s, Hong Kong looked nothing like it does today. Its transformation into a vertical metropolis has been nothing short of astonishing. But if you're looking from afar, it might look jaw-dropping due to its modern look. However, it's hiding a dark secret: extreme housing shortages. With housing prices soaring beyond reach, the city's poorest are forced into what they call cage homes. Cramped, windowless boxes barely large enough to lie down in. These shoebox dwellings are known for their poor and cramped conditions. Stacked in overcrowded buildings, these tiny enclosures exist in the shadows of towering luxury skyscrapers. It's a sad reminder that in a city reaching for the sky, not everyone gets to rise with it. Xiamen, China. In this city, you'll witness one of the most bizarre examples of overproduction. They call it bicycle graveyards. In the race to dominate the bike-sharing industry, companies flooded cities with millions of bicycles, fueled by billions in investments and the promise of a booming market. But the problem is that demand really never caught up with the supply, resulting in the streets overflowing with unwanted bikes, with parking spaces scarce and bankrupt firms unwilling to shoulder disposal costs. These countless bicycles were abandoned in vast and desolate fields. Some graveyards now hold upwards of 100,000 discarded bikes. The Chinese government has since acknowledged this phenomenon as a cautionary tale for future tech ventures. Rapid expansion without foresight can lead to an industry collapsing under its own weight. St. Petersburg, Russia. A towering behemoth of concrete and glass dot the skyline. Dubbed as Human Anthill, it's home to more than 20,000 individuals. This 25-story colossal building was completed in 2015. It contains 3,708 apartments and 35 entrances, making it one of the most densely populated residential buildings on Earth. Calling it an anthill might not be an exaggeration. This colossal structure operates like a city within a city, packed with everything its residents need to get by. To outsiders, the building is an eyesore, a blot on an otherwise stunning skyline. Some imagine that life inside a massive concrete oval must be depressing, but residents insist it's not as bad as it seems. In fact, many claim you could live here for months without ever needing to step outside. Beijing, China. If you think rush hour traffic is bad, imagine being trapped in your car for nearly 2 weeks. In August 2010, a massive traffic jam in this city stretched over 100 kilometers, turning a busy highway into a parking lot. Vehicles crawled at a painfully slow pace. Some barely moved for days, leaving drivers stranded in a gridlock like no other for more than 12 days. It's even named as the longest traffic jam in history. The chaos was triggered by road construction and an overwhelming surge of vehicles, leaving thousands stranded on the highway. This hellish traffic was a clear reminder that unexpected events can quickly turn routine trips into major challenges. Cairo, Egypt. At the foot of the Mokattam Hills lies Manshiyat Nasser, often called Garbage City. Waste overflows from doorways, blankets rooftops, and lines the streets. For generations, families here have made their living by sorting and processing Cairo's waste by hand. Every day, around 9,000 tons of garbage from across the city arrive to be meticulously sorted, repurposed, or sold. It's a harsh reality, but residents' survival here depends on the very waste others discard. Nearly all of 100,000 residents make their living from garbage in some way. As Cairo's main recycling hub, the neighborhood operates like a massive, informal waste processing system, with each family specializing in a specific task: collecting, transporting, sorting, washing, or repurposing discarded materials into something new. Surrounded by mountains of waste, residents face constant exposure to disease. With no proper sanitation, running water, or sewage system, survival here means enduring hazardous and unsanitary conditions every single day. La Rinconada, Peru. The highest human settlement on the planet with approximately 70,000 inhabitants. At the height of over 16,000 feet, the air is so thin that residents adapt to survive with just half the typical oxygen levels, their bodies compensating by doubling blood cell production. The environment here is extremely harsh, and the air pressure so low that not even trees can survive, resulting in a barren landscape. One of the primary difficulties faced by inhabitants in this area is the lack of access to running water, forcing them to rely on mercury-contaminated lakes for potable water. Constructing a sewage system has also been deemed unfeasible, leaving the residents with no choice but to live among waste and cope with overwhelming odors. What makes this place even more dangerous is the complete absence of rules, leadership, or any form of organization. It sprawls chaotically over a vast icy expanse, expanding without structure or direction, making survival even more challenging. Since no one is responsible, there's no progress or improvement happening in the area. The situation here really shows what Charles Darwin meant by survival of the fittest. Only the sturdiest rock-like skins can call La Rinconada as their home. Lagos, Nigeria. With a population nearing 17 million and an annual growth rate of 3.5%, this city is not only one of the largest in the world, but also among the fastest expanding. However, such rapid growth comes with significant challenges. Overcrowding is a daily struggle. Many residents are crammed into densely populated slums with limited access to clean water, sanitation, and essential services. The city's infrastructure is under immense strain, leading to gridlocked traffic, an overburdened public transport system, and inadequate waste management. As Lagos continues to expand, urban sprawl is pushing into natural habitats and coastal regions, raising serious environmental concerns. While various initiatives aim to manage this growth, the challenges are enormous, putting the city's future sustainability to the test. Dhaka, Bangladesh. A megacity where traffic laws are being disregarded, hence chaos in the streets are always visible. Here, the railway system stands as the most affordable and efficient means of travel. Overcrowding in the trains is not just common, it's the norm. Passengers cram into every inch of space, clinging to the sides, perching on roofs, even dozing atop moving carriages, risking their lives just to reach their destination. As dangerous this may seem, there's just no choice for them. The chaos of overcrowding reaches its peak during Eid ul-Fitr, one of the biggest Muslim festivals. During this time, over 10 million people leave the cities, journeying back to their hometowns to celebrate with family. With transportation stretched far beyond its limits, desperate travelers cling to every inch of space, crowding inside, hanging off the sides, and even perching atop the roofs of speeding trains. The sight is nothing short of breathtaking, as the trains, teeming with people, resemble swarming ants in motion. Accra, Ghana, the world's junkyard for electronic scraps. This largest e-waste processing site gets 15,000 tons of discarded phones, computers, and other used electronics each year. But, for thousands of people, this e-waste dump is not just a landfill, it's their livelihood. Each day, under a sky thick with smoke, workers sift through heaps of discarded electronics, braving the searing heat of open flames. Old computers, iPods, radios, and televisions are set ablaze, their plastic casings melting away to expose precious metals hidden within. The collected scraps are sold for a small amount, but the cost is far greater than what they earn. Toxic fumes linger in the air, chemicals seep into the water, and the very land they depend on is slowly poisoning them. San Francisco, United States. The city by the bay is now a city in crisis. It's plagued by rampant drug abuse, rising crime rates, and a growing homelessness crisis. Despite billions being poured into solutions, the problem persists, with overwhelmed shelters, strained law enforcement, and public spaces turning into makeshift encampments. It's staggering to think that the world's wealthiest nation is grappling with such dire conditions on its streets. In San Francisco alone, an estimated 8,300 people are homeless, with nearly half forced to sleep in parks, on sidewalks, or in fragile makeshift shelters. City officials have launched aggressive campaigns to clear encampments from the streets. Yet, some individuals continue to refuse shelter, often due to struggles with substance abuse. Which of these places you wouldn't want to be stuck into? Let us know your thoughts and hit that like button. Have a good one.